Hi everyone. So I'm joined here today with a fellow competitor, and um, she attends a nearby high school to me, and she's very involved with speech and debate. And here's Amanda. So why don't you say a few things about yourself?
Hi. Very excited to be on this channel because Kara's a good friend of mine, and we both do speech together. And we're both in the same grade. And as she said, we're super close. So I think it's really cool that she's doing this passion project to, kind of gain exposure for what speech and debate is, because I truly do think it's a great opportunity for a lot of students. My name's Amanda Q. I'm a rising junior at Pennsbury High School and I do speech. My main events are informative speaking, and I did declamation my freshman and sophomore year. And I'm looking to do a little bit more like oratory this year, definitely info still, and maybe some poi, but we'll see.
Yes. And Amanda and I met our freshman year back when speech and debate was in person.
Yep.
And hopefully we will see each other again. So, are you involved outside of speech and debate? Like, do you have some of your like personal academic interests, any other big clubs?
Yeah, so I'm part of Pennsbury's Asian Student Association, and I used to play piano, but I just do it for fun now. And prior to COVID, I also play competitive table tennis. But since COVID happened, a lot of the things got canceled, and I think I kind of honed in more on speech in the 2020 to 2021 school year because a lot of my other activities either got canceled or something happened with COVID and they got modified to the point where like it wasn't really worth to do it anymore.
Exactly. Yeah, and I mentioned in my last video I had a similar experience where it kind of became my main focus because it was really cool that it could run online when nothing else really could. So, how did you originally get involved? I know we both said it was our freshman year. So, like, how did you hear about it? What kind of drew you in?
So the funny thing is, I went to Chinese school up until seventh grade,
Mhm.
and our school had a debate team, and it's like completely different from what speech and debate is as we know it
Imagine.
now. But at the time, I was like, oh my god, like I'm gonna be a top tier debater. So I guess my first exposure to speech and debate, more so debate, was through like another extracurricular activity I did in middle school. And I actually went into speech and debate like really thinking that debate was my thing.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
yeah, I did a parliamentary debate and public forum my freshman year and like the beginning few tournaments of my sophomore year too. And I was like convinced that I could do debate, but obviously it didn't really work out. So
So I had a similar experience. I kind of dabbled in NFT, and it just
we're
was not
both
my thing.
speech conversions.
Yes, I always say that there's nothing that lets you have more freedom of speech, and it's like I don't know, it's such a really cool way to be yourself that I never originally thought of when I started. I was like, "Oh yeah, we're just gonna argue," and then
Yeah, right, right.
yeah,
I didn't
right,
even
and
know
then
like what speech was.
exactly, exactly. So it's like always cool to me how people get involved. So, you're a very experienced, very talented
Thank you.
competitor, and you don't have to be humble here. So, I just like, what are some of your biggest achievements, stats? I know we've been at some nationals together, and yeah, just share.
I think most of my success definitely came from my sophomore year, which was last year,
Right.
because everybody has a lot of time on their hands, so you have a lot more time to just do things that you want to do and kind of like find what you're interested in.
Hmm.
Um, I think I'd say my top three biggest accomplishments for speech are I placed third at Emory for informative speaking.
Yeah.
I semifinaled at NCFLs for declamation, and I quarterfinaled at NSDAs for info as well. And I think
So,
those, yeah,
oh, sorry to cut you off.
that's okay.
Okay, I would just want to clarify. So NSCA's, that was the national tournament.
Yeah.
Okay, so she's being humble. That's National Speech and Debate Association National is the biggest competition, and she was basically in the best of the best. So I know I personally, public speaking means everything to me, and it's kind of like it's the way I really express myself the most. So what does speech and debate mean to you? Is it a similar public speaking thing, or is it more like you feel like you can say things you can't really express anyway else? Like, is it more of an art? What do you view it as?
So, kind of in my opinion, one of my greatest personal values is communication. And so I view public speaking and speech in general as kind of like a way for me to communicate with a very large and diverse group of people. Because if you think about it, and debate is like this too, the entire activity is you're being judged by, older, perhaps more experienced competitors or
Completely.
parent judges, or you have like all different types of people from all different types of backgrounds and skill sets and race, gender, and like stuff like that. And I think being able to like develop a connection with somebody in such a short amount of time, because for speech, most of the speeches are like, 10 minutes.
Yeah.
And for debate, you also don't have that much time to kind of get your point across. So I think I'm like going on a tangent here, but what I'm trying to say is speech in general, I think, is really important to me because being able to connect with the people around me is something that I think is really valuable to everybody's life.
I completely agree. And another thing that I don't think I ever initially had the impression of is like how much I'd learn about other people's personal experiences. Like,
Yeah.
especially I'm sure in your category, because people write about like their
Mhm.
journeys and their personal experiences, but you're so correct about like all the different backgrounds. And it's like when you get to the national level too, like you'll be against people from California, like middle of the country.
All over the US. It's so cool.
It's so cool. Okay, so I know that in speech, as much as it's artistic, we also learn a lot of like
Mhm.
public speaking skills. So, how do you plan to use those in your future?
So I think that kind of connects with what I was saying before about like the ability to communicate with somebody and establish, some sort of relationship in a very short amount of time. And I think that goes beyond like high school or college or even work. Just being aware of the situation you're in and being able to articulate yourself and your position on something or how you're feeling, I think is like not only beneficial to the people around you, but it's also a way for you to represent yourself and kind of like, oh, this is who I am and this is how I want to be perceived to other people. So yeah, I think speech or like going through the process of competing, writing, speaking, it helps like establish a sense of self.
I completely agree. And I always think like this, the most forward goal is people would be like, oh, well, it would make me better at presentations or like
Right.
when you go to college or work. But it's really true that you point out it just helps you form other relationships. Like we would have never met through this.
Yeah,
You
exactly.
learn things from other people. Like you watch your competitors and you're like, I need to do that. Like I think it's all around so inspiring and
Yeah,
like
I agree. And I think me and you are kind of in like a similar situation because both of us started out in debate and then we kind of switched to speech. So I
right.
think like in both sides of the world, you see how there's like a lot of different um thinking processes that you'll be exposed to when you compete against people from like not only your state, your region, but again, as you said, people from California, Texas, like people
Right.
that you never would have seen or interacted with if you weren't a part of this activity. And you get to kind of see like, oh, they grew up differently than me. This is their environment. And it helps you understand the people around you a lot better.
Exactly. It's extremely eye-opening. And then the last thing I would say is just we kind of mentioned that our the way we found speech and debate wasn't exactly thrown at us. It wasn't like join, join. We kind of found out about it individually. I know I found about it through the teacher who runs it because I had him in class, and you kind of knew about it from the Chinese school you said you were in. So, what are some tips you can give to kids from all demographics, like we mentioned, that are looking to get involved in speech and debate? Where should they start? Because I know it can tend to be kind of overwhelming.
Oh, no, for sure. I think especially for speech, like when you first enter speech and debate, you think of it as one entity, right? Like speech and
Exactly.
debate. And usually, how it's portrayed in media and on the internet is more of like a debate world. So I think for speech, especially, like you have to be really proactive if you're interested in the activity. And there are so many resources online, which I think is really great. And they're all free too. And one thing that I recommend to all of our new members on the team is the National Speech and Debate Association, or NSDA, has a great a range of resources on both their website and their YouTube channel. Like, I've watched every single video on the NSDA YouTube channel. Like, I'm such a nerd, but it's it's a really great way to kind of see, like, oh, you have this list of like 1,000 different speech events, and you're like, what the heck even is all this stuff? Because they have videos on debate, speech. They have like tips and tricks, or like how to get started and stuff like that. But I think a lot of things you can find online, but also if you go to a school and you know that there's like a speech and debate team, or you have friends who are involved with the activity, definitely talk with them. And like, if you don't have this type of club at your school, you can definitely start one, and that'd be a great
Exactly.
way to like establish this community at your school too.
And I always say there's no harm in trying something. Just, I remember I
Yeah.
was scared to death of like actually the idea of competing. Like, I was like, I can't ever picture myself actually doing this like live and in person. Just do it. And then it's like you get bitten by the bug and you're like, all right, I need to do this again. Like, it's such
Yes,
a
no, I
cool.
completely agree. Like, it's like you know that analogy where people say, how do you learn how to swim? You just throw your kid in the water. You kind
Yeah.
of have to do that too with speech.
Yeah, just throw yourself into the classroom.
Yeah, seriously. And you get hooked on it. Like, there's not one day that goes by without something in my life that reminds me something of speech. Like, yeah, I might be a little bit obsessive over this activity because I just love it so much. But
But it really is. I think it's because it works so much on a motor skill that you really do practice every day. You
I
practice
agree.
speaking every day.
I
So,
agree.
well, this was so nice. And I think you have such cool insight. And
Thank
I
you.
really can't wait to see what you do in the future because you are going
Same
to.
with you. I can't wait to compete with you again. It's gonna be so fun.
Yes, we're going to be in person again. This YouTube channel is a work in progress, and hopefully, it is going to be one of many resources for kids to start getting involved.
Yes, I agree. So
So,
like and share this video and subscribe to Kara's YouTube channel.
all right, she did it for me.
Like, even if you don't know us, you can always reach out to us, or anybody you know who's involved with speech and debate. And I promise you, like 99% of the people are going to be so happy to help you with all these resources, because we really do love this activity.
And it's such a welcoming community.
Yeah,
So if you
seriously.
even have an ounce of interest, I'd say go for it. And
Agree.
yeah, all right, thanks, Amanda.
Thank you so much for having me.